there is no other alternative. Like
Kamala.
Until Joe Biden says that he's not running for president of the United States, there is no other alternative. I agree. Kamala is the only person who can replace him, but that is not happening. Like that, there is no world where that is happening. Never in the history of history has a white man had the most power in the entire world and given it away.
This is the time. This is the moment to do that. Do it for me, Joe Biden. Do it for me.
Let alone giving it to a black woman. Like what? That's never happened in the history of history.
Hello and welcome to the Bulwark Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Miller. Today we got Bakari Sellers back. He's a CNN political analyst. He's an attorney. His latest book, The Moment, Thoughts on the Race Reckoning That Wasn't and How We Can All Move Forward Now. He also has the distinction of being the last grown man to make me cry in the last 5 minutes of our most recent podcast. And he agreed to come back a little sooner maybe than he would have to kind of set me straight on some things. Right, Bakari? Thanks for doing this, man.
I'm not setting you straight. You have enough people at home to set you straight, but I'm looking forward to the conversation.
That's true. I appreciate we might have some toddlers in the background. It's summer vacation. All right. We got toddlers everywhere in our two households. All right. I do have one bone to pick with you before we get down to business, if that's okay.
Sure.
I saw you mention that you went to Essence Fest in my town this week. I didn't get a text. I didn't get a call. Are you scared to be seen with me right now because of my traitorous opinions, or do we have a beef? What's happening?
No. Part of it is my fear to be seen with you, especially at Essence Fest. So I didn't know you were in New Orleans. I thought you were in DC. You're in New Orleans?
I'm in New Orleans full time, baby. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I had no idea we could have gone out. We came down and enjoyed ourselves. My wife and I got there Tuesday. We hosted an event for the next mayor of the great city of New Orleans, Helena Moreno, on Wednesday night, and then I came back to spend time with the kids at 4th of July, and then I went back to do a book talk on Saturday. Got out of there Saturday night.
All right, baby. Well, next time you have to call me. If I would have seen it live, I would have texted you. We might have another disagreement on. I'm on the fence on Helena, so you can pitch me on that offline. I don't think the listeners need to hear about the New Orleans mayor race.
She's amazing. You need to get to know her. She's amazing. She's a special person.
I like her. Okay. There's some other people in the mix. We're thinking about it down here. All right, here we go. We're talking about Joe Biden. I told the folks yesterday, you've been out there saying, we got to stay the course. He's in the race. He's the man. We got to get behind him. And so I've obviously, many of us at the Bulwark have been having a different take on the situation. And so I just want to start here just to make sure we're on the same page on some mutual facts. We both are deeply fundamentally concerned about a Donald Trump second administration.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. All right.
Agreed.
We both agree that Joe Biden was losing to Donald Trump before the debate started, and he asked for the debate. The team asked for the debate because they wanted to allay concerns that voters had about his age. Do we both agree on that?
I mean, I don't know
about that.
I'm not sure about the latter part of that. I mean, I will concur that they asked for the debate. I'm not sure that was the reasoning behind the ask, but yes.
Okay. But and that what about the polls? So do we have a poll trutherism that we need to do here? Or you concur that directionally Joe Biden's losing the race?
Directionally, Joe Biden's losing the race, and I do think the election is closer than the polls dictate. But that's subjective. That's not an objective fact.
All right. Okay. So that's good. That's a good place to start from. That's a good beachhead for us to go from.
Sure.
All right. So then from there, make the pitch for why the right thing to do in this situation. If you have a candidate that's losing, that has demonstrated, not the best ability to offer a coherent contrast to his opponent. Like, why is the right thing to do at this moment not to discuss whether there are better approaches for defeating the threat that we both agree on?
Well, I think that a lot of people, including yourself, are engaging in what I'd call fan fiction, mainly because of the fact that you have to deal with the facts as they are. We started off with a set of facts. Like, for example, the only person who can inherit the $240 million that they have is Kamala Harris. There's not anybody else who has any type of infrastructure out there. Who is Gretchen Whitmer or Wes Moore or Raphael Warnock or Gavin Newsom? Who's their chair of the campaign in Nevada or Georgia or Arizona? Like, they don't have the infrastructure is not in place. There's only one person who can determine whether or not they are on the ballot or not, because they are literally the presumptive nominee. They got they won the primary. You can talk about the primary system and how it was won, or you can talk about the fact that Dean Phillips got abused, rightfully so. He wasn't necessarily the right candidate, but you could talk about the fact that it was a truncated primary system, or whatever you want to say. But the fact is he won that primary system, and he will be the nominee on August 5th. And so and the reason it's August 5th, by the way, and not when we go to the convention, which is the third week in August, is because of the way that the Ohio legislature has moved up their requirement for ballot certification to be on the Ohio ballot. And so there will be a call to make the presumptive nominee the nominee on August 5th. And so, I am not, for a lot of people, particularly Essence. So I went down to Essence and talked to a lot of voters. I didn't talk to them as voters. I just talked to them as normal people. And usually they engage me with the conversation. I also went fishing with my son last Saturday. We went out and caught some brim with my homeboy, Jared Lodeholt, out in Orangeburg County with his uncle. His uncle's probably, I don't know, probably 70. Jared's daddy's probably 70. And so we were just out there talking and fishing with our kids. And everybody understood the same thing, that we understand the gravity of a Donald Trump administration, and we're all on board to beat him. We also understand that Joe Biden got his ass kicked in a debate, but we don't really have time to waffle or play games or try to pontificate about who will be better, when, where, how, because for a lot of us, there's too much at stake. And so, is Joe Biden the best candidate? I don't know. Is he the candidate? The answer is yes. And is there a way to remove him from that? The answer is no.
Yeah, I'm not for removing him. And I don't think that somebody should challenge him at the convention. I do think that's fantasy. I do think that Joe Biden owes all of us, his honest assessment about whether he can do this race and beat Donald Trump, an honest assessment. And I think that there's a lot of this conversation has been
what is that?
About
what
Joe
is
Biden, what assessment we owe to Joe Biden. And like Joe Biden owes, he's our representative, right? We voted him in. I mean, some people might not include me in the we, since I used to be a Republican, but I voted for Hillary. I voted for Joe Biden. I worked for a super PAC to elect Joe Biden. So to me, I went out and, recruited grassroots people to make videos to talk about why they were going to cast their first vote for a Democrat in 2020. Joe Biden owes all of those people who put their faith in him his best and honest assessment. And I don't know why. And if he's not up for it, given the stakes that you're talking about, if what we saw in that debate is going to happen again and again when it's too late in September and October, then why is the right thing to rally behind him? Shouldn't the right thing to be to take this off ramp while we got it and find somebody who can do it?
But that's my point. Like, there is no off ramp, and two, that you've asked two different questions, okay. And I think that you've merged the questions, and a lot of people merge the questions.
All right, let's take them one at a time.
Yeah, I mean, can he do the job? Right? It's kind of the first question that people ask. Does he have the fitness to do the job? And the only way you can highlight someone's fitness to do the job is to look at the successes that they've had, right? And so no one can argue the successes that this administration's had over the last 3.5 years, dragging us out of COVID, bipartisan inflation reduction, bipartisan infrastructure bill. I mean, we can go on and on with the litany of achievements, the number of judges that they've approved on the federal bench, et cetera, right? So that's first. And you were merging.
Let's just take that. I don't know what the second question is, but so maybe this is the merging. But isn't his job right now, though, not getting legislation passed, not doing that? His job right now is beating Donald Trump so that he or someone else can serve for the next 4 years. Like, that's his. Like, he has one job right now, which is beating Donald Trump.
That's the merging of the question. So your next question is, can you serve for 4 years? Right? Like, beating Donald Trump is imperative to serving for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
And that is a legitimate question to ask, but he is trying to answer that question. And I believe that you're right by saying that he has to come outside more, he has to campaign more, he has to do those things, which every candidate should do. We haven't seen Donald Trump in public for the last 11 days. But you also mentioned this off-ramp. Like, what off-ramp is there? Explain to me the context and contours of an off-ramp.
He could take the off-ramp. He could say, you know what? I sat down with Jill. I sat down with my advisors. I rewatched the debate, which he might not have done, apparently, per his George Stephanopoulos interview. I've rewatched the debate, and I've said to myself, I can't do this. I'm a different person than I was 4 years ago. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean that my accomplishments are negated, but my skills as a candidate are different than they were when I debated Paul Ryan, when I took out Donald Trump 2020. We appreciate that. And I need to be honest with myself that there's a reason why I had the worst debate in presidential history. There's a reason why there's a poll out today that has Tammy Baldwin up by 6 while I'm down by 5 in Wisconsin. And it's not all this other stuff. It's like, it's that people are judging my age and I can't do it. Like, why isn't that an off ramp for him? It's a nice off ramp. It's a salutatory off ramp. It's like, thank you for your service. Now it's time to pass the torch.
I honestly think that's part of the reason why Joe Biden is probably still going to win this race. And I think a lot of people discount it. I think one of the things that's happened during this MAGA experience is the inability to recruit down-ballot candidates worth anything. And I think uniquely enough, when you usually have a president drag people across the ticket, I think it's going to be inversely. I think Ruben Gallego, I think Rosen, I think Josh Stein in North Carolina, who's running for governor, I think Casey, et cetera, Baldwin are going to help pull him across the ticket. I also think that you're still engaging in fantasy fiction, because when has a man who literally has been the most powerful man in the world just ceded his power to anyone else because of the simple fact that if he's not going to run for re-election, he literally has to resign the office of president. Yeah. There's no finishing your term. There's no, because if you're not fit to run for president, then you're not fit to be president.
I know. It's a tough ask, man. I know. But everybody, we've all had to go through this. Like, it's a silly example I keep using on the podcast, but it's like, I'm going home for Christmas. I live in New Orleans now, but I'm from Denver. We're going to go skiing. You don't think that my dad still wants to go down the double diamonds? You don't think that he still wants to do jumps on his snowboard and grab the front of the thing? He can't do it anymore. He can't do it. Like, that's not like when you're in your 60s and 70s, you can't ski. You can't do that. Like, you can't dunk anymore. Like, whatever, we can use whatever sport.
I was like, I've never fucking been skiing. Okay,
you've never been skiing. Okay, so let's do a different example. I
don't know what a double diamond is, but I hope he hits it and lands it successfully.
We'll do a different cultural example, but you know what I mean? Like, hey, man, you can't run the 40 at the same speed. You can, like, sometimes time comes for all of us, man. Time comes for all of us, and eventually, sometimes you gotta. And when we're in such a serious moment, I just want to go back to your conversation with I forget who you said was you went fishing with, and talking about how serious the threat is and how everybody is feeling it. Like, doesn't that call for like an extraordinary responsibility? To maybe do something that you wouldn't do otherwise.
Yes, we just view that responsibility to be totally different. So we view that responsibility to kind of just show some fortitude, put your feet down, 10 toes down, get to work, register more voters, go out there and do the work necessary. Because at the end of the day, let's say August 5th comes and goes. Let's say Joe Biden is still in the race, right?
Yeah.
The words and the remarks and the work that you and Van and David Axelrod, as noble and as respectable as it may be, will do nothing but prove to hurt our nominee, because that's who he is.
Yeah. Okay. Let's play that out though. Because I got one other topic for you, but let's play that out. Because I think that Joe Biden's words are what is going to hurt the nominee. Do you really think in Donald Trump's campaign in October is going to have Van Jones in his ads, or do you think he's going to have Joe Biden's own inability to speak in his ads?
I would actually splice you, Van, Axe, and Joe Biden all together and make all of you all celebrities. That's what I would do. Okay,
maybe. I just don't think that. I don't think that's going to land with folks. Folks can see what's happening for themselves, and I don't know. I hear you. I think that maybe there's something to be said for. If it was a closer call, I would say I agree with you. If it was a closer call, and me or Axe or anybody is out there being gratuitous about something, I think that's a fair criticism. But this is like the people see this. Like, the people have rendered their judgment. Like, that's the thing that is frustrating. This isn't about me and Axe and Van Jones or the Pod Bros or James Carville. Like, the people, it's the people. It's what people are saying.
And the people are putting their plight in this country above candidates right now. And that's what I want you all to be able to see. Like, there are people out here, the people at Essence Festival I talked to, many of the overwhelming majority of whom were Black women. Yeah. They don't care about, they're not out here voting per se for Joe Biden. That's not what they're doing. They're voting for what they believe in. They're voting to prevent. I've actually had more people talk to me about Project 25 than I've had people talk to me about Joe Biden in the debate.
So here's where I'm getting in trouble, and Bakari came to my defense. I don't need you to be my shining knight in shining armor, but there's some black folks on the internet that are mad at me because I was saying this. What I'm about to say now is the same thing I'm saying on the internet, which is, like that's all anecdotal, right? Like we have data. Like you can look at data, and here's the post debate poll, New York Times, Siena. Should Joe Biden stay or leave? 43% of black voters said stay. 47% leave. Is he too old? Among black voters, 53% strongly or somewhat agree he's too old. 44% strongly or somewhat disagree. You mentioned Van Jones, Van Latham, Jerusalem Dempsey. Like we have done focus groups of black voters. It's very mixed. We did one last night. I watched it. I sat there and listened. I didn't talk. I listened and watched. And like people had very different views. Like people are mixed. Everybody's got mixed views.
But that question is, who are they voting for? Donald Trump? Or are they voting for the old guy? Are they voting for the sociopath who wants to bring us back into a place where we don't want to be, or are they going to vote for the old guy? I mean, at the end of the day,
they're going to vote for Joe Biden, I would say, right?
And the overwhelming majority are. Yeah, I mean, so that.
But what if some don't?
You have three choices in this race, right? You have Joe Biden, Donald Trump, and the couch. Those are the three choices you have, right? And our job is to make sure that we mitigate the couch. That is our job. The rest is going to take care of itself. Like
why can't Kamala be one of the choices? That's what I don't understand. So I want to go back to your other point that Kamala's the only person who can take
Kamala.
it. I don't know. Like Kamala, we played on yesterday's podcast Kamala's remarks from Essence Fest. I watched that. I've seen her speak. I've met with Kamala. Is she the perfect candidate? No. Is there concerns about racism, misogyny? Sure. But she could deliver a fucking message against Donald Trump that the current guy can't.
She's not one of the choices. She is the choice. Like if in fact there is something that happens between August 5th, I think the only day that matters between now and August 5th to not engage in this fan fiction that everybody thinks Joe Biden's going to drop out the race and we're going to keep yelling in our lungs, which I'm like, can y'all just go out and organize, please? Because the man ain't going nowhere. But if Thursday goes extremely poorly, which is his press conference, and it's his NATO press conference, it's unscripted, it's in 45 minutes of just questions and answers with that individual. If he falls asleep or falls down or something happens, then there may be a move or a push. But other than that, everybody, the CBC, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, the leaders of whomever, and he's going to speak to the NAACP next week. I mean, this is the horse that we have. I don't know if I like it or not. I really don't care. Yeah. That's not my choice. I'm going to work as hard as I can to beat Donald Trump in November instead of trying to like the person that I'm voting.
Yeah, same. I guess my question is, isn't it, look, if 80% of the country think he's too old, I think, you're saying it's going to hurt to have people out there criticizing Joe Biden, saying that he's too old. I don't know. Might it be helpful to have people out there that are saying, yeah, I thought he was too old too. I wish he would have stepped aside. But even still, like, I have the same concerns you do. But even still, I'm going to go out and vote for Joe Biden. That's what I plan on saying in October. That's fine. Isn't that what's wrong with that?
Nothing's wrong with that. That's where we are. I mean, that's fine. But the whole my problem. And when I don't want to be flippant when I say fan fiction, although it is a very
be flippant.
No. But it was not to you. It's not addressed to you, but it's to others. Is that like there is no other alternative? Like
Kamala
until Joe Biden says that he's not running for president of the United States, there is no other alternative. I agree. Kamala is the only person who can replace him, but that is not happening. Like that, there is no world where that is happening. Never in the history of history has a white man had the most power in the entire world and given it away.
This is the time. This is the moment to do that. Do it for me, Joe Biden. Do it for me.
Giving it to a black woman. Like what? That's never happened in the history of history. I'm the most powerful person in the world. I'm going to go home and I'm going to give it to this black woman. You have to point out a historical example where that's happened.
For now, it hasn't. But this is my moment. This is time. We're in unprecedented times. Okay, real quick, 2 rapid fires. What is Joe Biden's message right now? Because I listened to his Morning Joe appearance, and I don't know what Joe Biden's message is. Do you know what Joe Biden's message is?
He's not Donald Trump.
Okay. Don't we think we could come up with something a little better than that?
Probably, but right now he's fighting off everybody to his left and right and front and back.
Joe Biden has a vigorous message contrasting himself from David Axelrod. I saw passion in that man's eyes that I haven't seen in months talking about David Axelrod. But talking about Donald Trump, not as good.
He said who? That was the funniest thing ever. When they were talking about David Axelrod, David Axelrod, and his response was who? That was hilarious to me.
It was funny. That's what I was saying. It was the best moment of his thing. But I would like him to channel that energy a little bit towards Donald
agree.
Trump.
I think that he's having to waste too much fire on his friends instead of training that fire on his foes.
Yeah. All right. You're also a lawyer, so I got you. Last question. Since we last talked, just maybe unbelievable is not the right word, but a shocking Supreme Court decision. I'm just wondering how you took the immunity decision and what just put a quarter in the machine. You riff on it.
There is a narrow pathway to still be prosecuted. I think that they have established the fact that there is somebody who's above the law in the United States, and it's a president or former president. I think that official acts is going to be interesting to see how that kind of susses out, to see what that looks like. I do think that Chutkan is probably going to have a pathway for him to be prosecuted. It will just be more narrow on all of these issues. I don't think there's going to be an issue in New York, although the judge is taking it into consideration. I think it's going to pose a huge issue in Atlanta, and I'm not sure it poses any issue down with the with the classified documents cases.
I mean, we're just asking questions about that judge down there. There may be some Confederate elements happening. We don't know.
Lord, I don't know. And so yeah, I will tell everybody that the more disturbing ruling was the Chevron ruling. And I think more people need to go and read the dissent of that than any dissent.
Give us 1 minute on that. 1 minute on the Chevron ruling. We haven't talked about that at all on this podcast because of the debate. So,
let's actually. I think we need to flesh it out, and I would love to come on with somebody like Ellie Mistel or somebody to come up and really, really hash it out. I mean, this court has done something that no courts have done before them now twice, which is overturn decades of precedent. And in Chevron, I mean, basically, not only overturning precedent, but the role government plays in society, how that can be adjudicated, how that can be limited or restricted. And basically, you can go out there and be as unhealthy as you want to be if a private entity decides to do that too. And I just think that's much more of a dangerous, slippery slope than what happens to one man in the White House.
Let's do that after August 5th, because I don't want to argue with you again. After August 5th, we can get Ellie on here, and we can do Chevron, and we can do courts and Project 2025. There'll be 3 full months left. The French have had, as Jon Stewart said, the French had 2 elections in 1 month. All right, we can. I think the American people are capable of focusing on Joe Biden or my fan fiction between August 5th and November, and coming up with the right solution. I will be one of the people doing it.
I love all of you guys. Axe gave me one of the pricks for Biden buttons that he got. So I'm all on board. I love all you guys. So after August 5th, after you guys get all of this out of your system, I guess you'll be like, that's my old guy. I'm with the old guy.
I'm with the old guy. I think that's much more compelling than I think he's killing it. All right. I'm with the old guy.
I've never said that now. He's definitely not. He's what we have. When you're growing up and you're not doing well on a test and the teacher comes over and you may not be the smartest or the quickest, and the teacher looks at you and she just simply says, you got to work with what you got. And that's what we're doing.
All right. Bakari Sellers, some of our listeners who've been annoyed with me are going to be throwing flowers at your feet on social media. Thank you for coming on. And next year you're texting me for Essence Fest, assuming we're allowed to have an Essence Fest in the Donald Trump 2.0 regime. Who knows exactly what the rules are going to be around that, but assuming we have it, and assuming, I'm welcome. I'll see you down here next year.
All right, brother. Bye-bye.